Hey, my name is Abhijit, and I am from the Anonymous Writer. I think I am kind of an oddity on the stage. I'm not famous, I'm not renowned. I'm not any of what I'm supposed to be on the stage. I'm not a famous actor, I'm not a musician, I'm definitely not a politician. I'm not a stand-up comic. So who am I? If I'm not famous, then who am I exactly? I'm anonymous. And let me explain. English is a very, very interesting language, and a lot of words have a lot of important and interesting meanings. The word anonymous also has two very similar but slightly different meanings. The first meaning of the word anonymous is nameless, which simply means someone without a name. But the word anonymous has another meaning that not many people know of, and that meaning is someone without fame. Someone without a characteristic, remarkable feature. Someone who would simply blend with the rest of them. Like an anonymous face in the crowd. Think of Batman without his mask. Like an anonymous story, written but never read. Like anonymous writers who keep trying and keep writing. They fill up pages of their diary, but nobody to read their work. That's what I represent. I represent passion, and I represent never giving up. My story begins when I was pretty young. When I was 9 or 10 years old, I loved reading a lot. And I don't just mean textbooks. I did read textbooks as well, and I scored pretty well. But what I really enjoyed reading were novels and short stories and poems. I loved reading plays. I was a fan of Tagore and Shakespeare. I loved Premchand. But over years, literature somehow vanished from my life. I became a teenager, and then 15 and 16 years old. And I scored good marks in class 10th. And I got heavily influenced by people around me. And I opted for science. To be honest, when you score good marks in class 10th, commerce and humanities are not even options that you ponder over. And neither did I. It was simple math, a word I'm very, but yes, it was simple math. You get good scores, you opt for science, the next natural progression, society expects you to become an engineer or a doctor. People also become CAs and lawyers, but that's an afterthought. If you have taken science, you will probably be an engineer or a doctor. Now, fortunately for me, I failed JEE twice. Now, why I say that's fortunate is because had I cleared JEE, I would have been an engineer. No questions asked. But because I failed JEE, the only exams I could crack gave me access to decent engineering colleges. So I asked myself a question, is it really what I want to do? Because when I thought about it, when I was 9 or 10 or 11 years old, I did not see myself as an engineer at all. I saw myself reading and writing and enjoying life. And when I spoke to people who were already pursuing engineering, I was convinced that that's probably not what I should be doing. But I'm a slow learner. So while I opted out of engineering despite a good rank, I thought, let me do an MBA. Because that's how people are. We always look for something safe to latch onto. And I reckoned, instead of doing a 4-year engineering, let me do a 3-year BSc. I'll save a year. If the idea is to do an MBA, why do an engineering at all? So I joined university, and I started preparing for CAT. I got a great score. But just like a few years ago, when I wanted IIT, now I wanted IIM, and I couldn't get it, fortunately. Because I could not get into IIM, I tried again and again and again, and finally, after a few years of trying, I again got great scores, and I got into some of India's topmost B schools. But then a personal tragedy struck, and I lost my father, and I could not do an MBA at that time. So, if I sum it up, in my mid-20s, I was a guy without a substantial degree. I did not have a lot of money. I did not have any contacts. I had no access to any additional resources. I had no direction. And I was very, very confused in my life. I did not know what to do, and I did not know where to go. I hated my job as well. And I actually hated it, and hate is a strong word, but I hated it. I was working in the fashion industry in supply chain, and it sounds like a weird combination, but yes, that's exactly what I was doing. And I hated the job. So one fine day, out of the blue, I decided to vent out my frustration. But I had no friends. So where do I vent out and who do I go to? I turned to Facebook. And just randomly, I started a page called The Anonymous Writer. Exactly 0 likes. I had to tag 10 friends on every comment to get some likes on the posts. And yet, I could only muster about 5 or 10 likes on every post, and I was going nowhere. But I wrote something which was about the present day circumstances at that time. And I saw the number of likes move up from 5 to 8. And that was, at that time, the happiest day of my life. And gradually people joined. And I saw a lot of messages coming to me. And a lot of people wanted to vent out as well. So we decided, if we are coming together for a purpose, why should we vent out? Let's do something creative. So we almost pivoted from a platform where we were venting out and writing non-fiction, and we started creating stories. And that's when the magic happened. And we started growing in numbers. The number of readers multiplied progressively. After about 2 years of working very hard on that platform, we were at close to 500,000 followers. And that's when the next turning point came in my life. If I go back to what I was thinking about when I wanted to do an MBA, I thought I would do well in marketing. I really enjoyed watching TV commercials. I liked the way brands created their stories. And I wanted to be a marketing professional. And I thought, if I have to do marketing as a career, an MBA is a must. But 2 years after creating The Anonymous Writer, and 4 years after opting out of an MBA course, I got a message from someone who had read my work. And apparently, my work had been noticed by a lot of people. And I was able to get into a job that involved me managing the social media presence of a company, which essentially is a part of digital marketing. Which means that a Facebook page gave me what years of struggle and failure could not. I was not only getting to do what I wanted to do, I was also getting paid for it. Now imagine going to work every day and logging into Facebook, not to chat with your friends, but to maintain a brand's presence. Imagine going to Instagram and uploading photos for a brand. Imagine tweeting random things, but with a hashtag that's relevant to a brand. That's exactly what I do. I make a living off social media. Now, how exactly does the word anonymous fit in here? Well, it fits in because anonymous, as I mentioned earlier, is something or someone that lacks characteristic features, like a face in the crowd. And I had a hidden talent. It took a while for me to identify. At 28 years of age, I was finally able to shed off my failures and move forward. And what I want to emphasize now is that anyone can do that. You all can do that. A lot of people opt for a lot of things in life. Those choices are almost made for them by someone else. And sometimes we choose our own bad fortune. It's all about writing. And when I say writing, it need not be a story. It's about writing your destiny as well. If you have a talent, don't wait. There's a very famous dialogue in a movie, and it goes like, if you have a dream, you got to protect it. And that's very true. If you have a dream, you have to start. It can be anything. The anonymous writer could have been the anonymous photographer. It could have been the anonymous actor. Any identity you want to build for yourself will start from anonymity. And from the crowd, your face will emerge. Like Bruce Wayne in Gotham City. It could have been anyone else. It could have been anyone else. But it had to be Bruce Wayne and Batman. And that's what all of you can do. If there's anything that you want to achieve in life, you have to take the first step. So when we take the mask off the anonymous, you will often find that behind the mask, it's someone quite familiar. It would most likely be someone that you know. And it can be someone like you. Thank you.